All right, happy Thursday to you and happy summer to you. We are officially into the summer season, and of course we are officially into the hurricane season as well. Summer began at 3:50 this afternoon, and of course we had landfall of our first tropical storm of the season early this morning, a little before 7 a.m. near Tampico, Mexico. Of course, it was Tropical Storm Alberto, and I am still tracking the tropics because there could be more trouble right around the corner. So let's get right to it. Of course, I'm Fox 26 meteorologist Ramisha Shade here with your Thursday update, and it looks like things will remain fairly active, especially across the Caribbean Sea, Gulf of Mexico, and even over towards the southwestern Atlantic. We could have some development over the next 2 to 7 days. But first, let's talk about what happened over the last 24 hours, and that was landfall of our first tropical storm of the season, which, of course, is Alberto. It did make landfall early this morning. You can see it passing north of Mexico City. Landfall was near Tampico, and it has now weakened to a tropical depression. So I think it will weaken pretty quickly and kind of dissipate by the end of the day. However, it is going to take a while for all of that rain to kind of fade. So things have improved locally for Southeast Texas, but we'll still have some impacts. We'll still have that tropical air mass in place, so we can still anticipate some spotty downpours. But here's the latest with Alberto, and this is the latest update. No longer a tropical depression as of the last minute or so now. It is weakened past a tropical depression. It's now the remnants of Alberto, and we currently have wind at this point right around 30 miles per hour. Winds were around 35 miles per hour for the last advisory. So now it's basically falling apart. Of course, that warm water in the Gulf of Mexico acts as fuel to help to keep this thing going. So when it moves over land and it loses its fuel source, it kind of slows down, winds down, and rapidly falls apart. So that's what is taking place right now. You can see that pressure increasing up to 1,000 millibars. That means it is getting weaker. The wind in this getting lower, and it is picking up speed now, racing to the west around 24 miles per hour. So this is the 4 p.m. advisory that just came out a couple of minutes ago, and we will continue to monitor this. But bottom line, Alberto is almost pretty much over. It is weakening very quickly, and we are seeing those impacts starting to subside across much of the Texas coast. We still can anticipate some scattered downpours, but as far as the major coastal flooding and the super strong wind, well, that should gradually be ending over the next 12 to 24 hours. As far as storm names, well, we've gone through the first one in just the first few weeks of this 2024 Atlantic hurricane season. Of course, Alberto, our first named storm of the season, but we have two other areas of interest. One right around the southwestern portion of the Gulf of Mexico, and another in the southwestern Atlantic that could develop into tropical systems over the next week. So we're talking about the possibility of Beryl or Chris being used just in the next week or so. So we've been telling you this will likely be a pretty active hurricane season, and that is exactly what we have going on. So just keep it here. Of course, we are keeping a close eye on everything happening out there in the tropics and any potential impacts for us. So let's look ahead and talk about what could be coming towards us. Well, we've got two systems, as I said, that we're monitoring for possible development, two areas of concern basically, and we have one in the southwestern Atlantic, which is now being called Invest 92L. That means it's just an area that the National Hurricane Center has deemed it is basically strong enough to investigate. So they did send a hurricane hunters plane into this. It's likely still flying in it now, picking up that data and basically going to determine whether this system is strong enough to be called a tropical depression. At this point, it's still just an invest, or it's an area of low pressure that has developed off of the southeastern U.S. coast, and over the next 7 days, it does have a 40% chance that it could develop into a tropical depression or maybe even a tropical storm Beryl. So we'll have to watch that closely because it is forecast to roll very close to that northeastern Florida coast, right around the Jacksonville area over the next day or two, and it may clip parts of that Georgia coast as well. So that would mean an increased or enhanced risk for heavy rain that could lead to flooding, and of course windy conditions, and always, when you have these tropical systems, there will be the potential for maybe a few severe storms that could lead to a few brief tornadoes. Now, let's talk about this system in the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. It's actually closer to the Yucatan Peninsula right now, but it is expected to emerge into the southwestern Gulf over the next couple of days, and it is forecast to gradually develop. Not much development expected over the next few days, but over the next 7 days, there is a 50% medium chance that we could have development here in the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. Again, we're just now beginning to get rid of our first tropical storm, and we're already talking about the chance for another one moving over a very similar path. So we'll have to watch this closely. I do think an area of high pressure off to the north and east will likely shove this southwestward and keep it south of Houston, but similar to with Tropical Storm Alberto, we will get that onshore flow, and we're likely going to get those tropical downpours, those scattered heavy downpours that could develop, especially during the afternoon and evening. So that would be for next week. So let's talk about what you can expect for the next day or so. We're still dealing with a few impacts from what's left of Alberto. Coastal flooding will still be possible through this evening. We've had major flooding reported down around Surfside Beach for parts of Galveston. So certainly still watch out in those areas. It's going to take a while for that water to kind of recede and for things to return back to normal. There's also still going to be a high risk for rip currents, especially through this evening and tonight. So certainly you want to avoid going for a swim out at Galveston Beach or Jamaica Beach or any of our beaches, because we still have some pretty dangerous conditions. That high threat for rip currents continues. Here's the good news. It's still breezy out there, especially along the coast, but it is not as windy. We've gotten rid of the tropical storm warnings. We've gotten rid of the wind advisories, but we do still have that coastal flood warning through 7 p.m. And we also still have that high risk for rip current. So still a few hazards, especially for our coastal communities. Also, here is some new information. The National Weather Service did just release this report, and they did say that they found evidence of a brief EF1 tornado yesterday that occurred in Austin County. This was just north and west of Belleville, right around Coy Road. They said they reported damage to a business and to 2 homes there. So this tornado on the ground for about 2 minutes yesterday from 5:25 p.m. to 5:27 p.m. That path width was 100 yards and that path length was about 1.9 miles. So it was a brief tornado with peak winds of around 100 miles per hour, but it did do a little damage very close to the Belleville area in Austin County. So we never had a tornado warning or any really strong circulation showing up. But I guess the National Weather Service did go out after receiving some calls of some damage, and they did discover that we did have a brief tornado yesterday. So this is not shocking, because with landfalling tropical systems, you can occasionally get some brief, weaker tornadoes to develop, and it looks like that's exactly what happened very close to Belleville yesterday. Fortunately, our tornado risk has gone away for today, but we got a lot of heavy rain with that tropical system yesterday, close to 5 inches in the Sargent area, over 4 inches for you in Brazoria, close to 3.5 inches of rain in Alvin, over 3.5 inches of rain in Brenham, and over 2 inches of rain for you in Sugar Land. So that led to some flooding issues, especially for our coastal communities. Of course, we had the tidal flooding as well, that storm surge flooding, that wind pushing that water up on shore onto some of those roads right around the coast, and that is still going on for some of these communities. So for that reason, that coastal flood warning continues through 7 p.m. this evening down around Galveston County, coastal Harris County, down around Matagorda, Brazoria County. So just keep in mind, there's still the potential for some of those streets to be inundated with water. It's going to take a while for that water to go down. So just be really careful if you are going to be out and about in these locations. Our Fox Rad radar is showing that we are still getting those spotty showers moving in. Total lightning strike 0. So we're not getting any storms at this point, but we are getting that potential for 1 or 2 of these spotty downpours to push in, and they will likely increase. So at this point, total strikes 0. As you can see, we've had 1 or 2 lightning strikes over the last hour or 2, but right now it's mainly just heavy rain. But some of these showers could pulse up and get stronger and produce a little lightning, maybe some small hail and some brief stronger wind gusts. But at this point, just some heavy downpours just south of Atascocita, north of Channelview, a little bit of rain showing up near Aldine, Cypress, and Jersey Village. And there's also still some rainfall showing up a little farther north. This is going to be right along Interstate 45 near Willis, south of Huntsville, and over towards Shepherd, south of Livingston. So your umbrellas are still needed. It's not going to be as widespread as yesterday. Yesterday was super dreary with all of that heavy rain, but there will still be the potential for some of these spotty downpours since we are still in that super warm, humid tropical air mass, even though Alberto has moved on. So we still have that coastal flooding going on. The risk overall, though, for additional flooding definitely going down. Notice the flash flood risk has pushed out of the majority of our area. Still a very low marginal risk for that street flooding over towards Hallettsville, El Campo, Bay City, Palacios, and for Edna. However, like I said earlier, there's still the high risk for rip currents, that rip current statement sticking around through 7 p.m. and we will continue with that threat. And actually, it looks like it has been extended for another day. It was supposed to end this evening, but it looks like it's been extended through tomorrow evening through 7 p.m. So that means it's not a great idea to go for a swim this evening, and that high risk for those dangerous rip currents will stick around for tomorrow as well. Even though this system, Tropical Storm Alberto, or what was Tropical Storm Alberto, made landfall close to 500 miles to our south, we still got quite a bit of wind from it. In fact, check out some of these strongest wind gusts from yesterday. Wind over 50 miles per hour showing up yesterday out at the Galveston Causeway, close to 50-mile-per-hour gusts at Surfside Beach, 47-mile-per-hour wind gust in Galveston, and a 41-mile-per-hour wind gust for you in Pearland. So certainly a lot of wind to deal with over the last 24 to 36 hours. Here's some good news. It's still breezy out there, but not quite as windy. We've got sustained wind around 20 to 27 miles per hour for Houston and for Galveston, and also down around Freeport. Those gusts, though, have settled down a bit. We were dealing with gusts around 40, close to 50 miles per hour. Now we've got gusts closer to 30 miles per hour for Houston, 20 to 25 mile per hour gusts near Freeport, and wind gusts near 30, 33 miles per hour for you in Angleton. So yes, it's still going to be on the breezy side, but our future wind gusts showing that wind, especially overnight and tomorrow, really starting to settle down as high pressure tries to nudge its way in from the northeast. And I think that will cause the wind to kind of settle down a bit. So instead of gusts around 30 to 40 miles per hour, gusts for tomorrow afternoon likely closer to 10 to 20 miles per hour. So that is a little bit of good news. As far as the setup for today and for the next few days, well, we've got Alberto weakening. Like I said, we will have to monitor the southwestern Gulf to see if another possible tropical system can develop. But I think the trend for the next few days will be for rain chances as we go into the weekend to gradually start to go down. So scattered clouds, a few downpours to worry about out there for this afternoon, but overall things are beginning to improve. So hopefully we can quiet things down, calm things down for tomorrow and for Saturday before we start to see what happens with our next possible tropical system for next week. Let me track that future weather for you hour by hour. Futurecast showing scattered clouds, 1 or 2 downpours out there through this evening. Not much showing up overnight. I think tomorrow morning is fairly quiet. I can't rule out a brief shower near the coast, but tomorrow afternoon around 3, 4 p.m., 5 p.m., notice 1 or 2 of those downpours still trying to pop up over us again. So keep the umbrellas close by because there will still be the chance for more rain, just not quite as widespread as we go into tomorrow and especially for Saturday. Here's what I'm talking about. We keep that 40% chance for spotty to scattered rain in the forecast for Friday. So still not the best day for those afternoon pool plans. But if you just wait one more day, Saturday morning is going to be great for the pool and also for the golf course. Saturday afternoon will be great for pool time or park time. Those rain chances all the way down to 10%, but gradually starting to creep back up for Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And that's really going to depend on what that next possible tropical system does in the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. My thinking is that it will stay mainly to our south and west. It may enhance our rain chances a little bit, but overall I'm not really seeing any super widespread heavy rain from that next possible system. So overall, for the next 5 days or so, in fact all the way through Monday, our model's not really showing a lot of additional rain. I'll go with about a 1/2 inch to 1.5 inches of additional rain, and that is for the next 5 days. And the best chance for that will be south and west of Houston, back towards El Campo and Edna, and also down around Palacios. So we're not dealing with a huge threat for additional flooding, so that is certainly some good news. But as the rain chances go down, temperatures will be going up. Tomorrow will be the first full day of the summer season for 2024, and we've got temps climbing all the way to the low 90s. How about 95 degrees for Saturday and Sunday? And then depending on how much rain we start to get back in here, those temperatures will slide back down a few degrees for Monday and Tuesday, but still stay on the steamy and hot side, still around 92 to 93 degrees. So overall, things are looking pretty good. Impacts from what was Tropical Storm Alberto are starting to fade away. Still be careful around our coastal communities. We have to wait for that flooding to kind of go back down and for things to get normal. But overall, the wind should settle down, the rain should settle down a bit. But keep in mind, there will still be some downpours here and there and plenty of heat. So be careful out there in that heat. And once again, happy summer to you. I'm Fox 26 meteorologist Ramisha Shade.